Hello friends, today's video is a masterclass on how to go about acing Amazon's loop interview process. Now what I will be covering in this video is what to expect in the loop interview, how you should go about preparing it, step-by-step process of preparing for the loop interview process. Third is how should you go about delivering the interview. Again, a step-by-step process on delivering the interview. And in the end, I will cover some bonus hacks which are very important for you to stand out as an interviewer, because there are many other smart candidates who have applied for this role as well, which you've also applied, and they are also doing a good job. They come with a good background and experience as well. How do you stand out and become that one candidate who gets the job? My name is Bahroz and I'm a career coach, and I help people get and land their dream job. Now, one important call out, which is in case you find any value from this video, please press the like button. This keeps me motivated, and more importantly, subscribe to this channel as well, because on this channel I post content pertaining to how to achieve success in your career. And this particular video is related to it in case getting into Amazon is your dream job. Now let's first talk about what to expect in the loop interview. Now the loop interview is around 3 to 5 interviews. There will be different interviewers who will be interviewing you. So you'll go through 3 to 5 different interviews with different interviewers. Now remember, Amazon wants you to succeed. These interviewers are not there to grill you. They want you to succeed. All they want to do is make sure that you're the right candidate, and they will go at any length to make sure that you say those things which will prove that you're the right candidate. And hence they will ask you questions and they will probe you and they will try to understand if you are the right candidate or not. So here it is important to note that Amazon interviewers won't be accepting you or rejecting you based on how you deliver, whether you do a good job or bad job in the interview. For them, what is important is whether you align with their leadership principles, with the principles they have, the leadership qualities that they're looking for or not. Do you have those qualities or not? If you have those qualities, they will hire you. If you don't, they will not hire you. And in any case, they will gauge you on those leadership qualities. Like, do you max out or do you ace all those leadership qualities or not? Or you only possess half of them or few of them, and there are other candidates who possess more of them. And if they do, then they will select those candidates over you. So remember, again, they are not there to grill you. They're there to make sure they get all the answers, all the information from you, so that they can qualify whether you're the right candidate or not. And hence it is important for you to make sure that you deliver all the relevant information to them in the interview. Lastly, remember, these interviews are based on behavioral interview questions. So you will be asked questions pertaining to your past experience, which is like, tell me about a time. This is how the interview questions are formatted. Now I've made a separate video on behavioral interview questions. In case you're interested in learning more about the behavioral interview questions, I highly recommend you check that video out. I will leave the link somewhere here in the description of this video as well. Now let's move on to the preparation part. How do you go about preparing? And what I will do is I will give you the step-by-step process of how you should go about preparing. But one important piece on preparation is practice. So once you know what to prepare, it is very important for you to practice. The more you practice, the better you will get at interviewing, because interviewing is a skill that you don't necessarily use at the job. You might be good at what you do, but interviewing is a completely different skill. So it is very important for you to understand how to ace the interview and then practice. Now, one thing that I offer is a one-to-one coaching sessions on how to ace your Amazon interview. Here, I will run a mock session with you and help you prepare for an Amazon interview. In case you're interested in understanding what do I exactly cover in this session, well, you can check out multiple videos that I have on my channel where I have the sessions recorded with few of my candidates, and I've published those videos on my channel. Other than that, there are other ways of practicing as well. One could be in front of the mirror. You can also ask a friend or a family member or a colleague to help you out preparing as well, like they can sit in front of you and you deliver the interview. Or I would also recommend using some of the AI models which are out there for you to prepare. One of the ones which I recommend, I will leave the link for the one that I recommend for you to prepare using an AI model in the description of this video as well, and you can check them out too. However, again, the idea is to practice, whether it is coaching through me, whether it is you seeking help from a colleague, friend, or family member, or even using an AI model. It is very important that you go about practicing. Now, when talking about how do you go about preparing, first and foremost, remember that it is important for you to know what to answer. So never prepare for the question, always prepare for the answer. I see many candidates making this mistake, which is they prepare for what will be the question asked. I want you to prepare for what is the answer that you will give. And let me explain how you go about doing it. First and foremost, without thinking of what questions will be asked, you first and foremost think, what are the things you want to talk about in the interview? What you want to talk about in the interview are your highlights, your best experience where you really aced, where you worked on something end to end, you're really proud of that thing for two reasons. One is if you start talking about something which you're really proud of and it's your big achievement, you will talk about it with full passion and you will have all the details and you will be motivated and there will be a lot of passion coming out when you talk about it. And second is you want to sell yourself in this interview, and hence you want to talk about things which are big achievements, which you are proud of, which are really big highlights, because you want to put your best foot forward in this interview and hence want to make sure that all your key highlights are delivered. You talk about them in this interview. So what I want you to do is make a list of 8 top key highlights from your past professional life. List them down and list them down in order of the best to the worst. It won't be worst, but the topmost to the less best one or the least best one maybe. So you make a list of those 8 key highlights from your professional life. So this is step 1. You make a list of that. Then what I want you to do is I want you to understand that Amazon's interview is based on Amazon's leadership principles. There are 16 leadership principles, and what they want to do is they want to qualify whether you fall or do you have those qualities, those leadership qualities in you or not, those 16 leadership qualities. If you have those 16 leadership qualities, you are the right individual for Amazon. So they are looking for those leadership qualities in you. They are customer obsession, learn and be curious, deliver results, ownership, and so on and so forth. I've made a separate video on what are Amazon leadership principles. I highly recommend you check it out. I will leave the link here and also in the description of this video. So you understand what those leadership principles are. They are in total 16. However, all those leadership principles won't be relevant for you because they're 16. They're a lot. Probably there would be 4 or 5 or at max 6 leadership principles which would be most relevant for the role that you've applied for. So out of those 16 leadership principles, you need to figure out what are those top 5-6 leadership principles which are most relevant to the role you've applied for. Now here, what you can do is 1, check with the recruiter. So just blatantly ask them, hey, can you please tell me which leadership principles are the most relevant for this role? Either you can ask them via an email if the interview process has not started, or if your loop interview has not started, it's best when you go in the screening interview, you directly ask them what are the most relevant leadership principles for this particular role. And there is a 99% chance they will let you know that these are the 5-6 leadership principles which are most relevant. Another thing that you can do in case you don't get a positive answer from the recruiter is to take the job description, put it in an AI model, call it ChatGPT, Grok, whatever you prefer, and ask them that particular AI model to give you the most relevant leadership principle that Amazon will be using for this particular job. And it will throw out some leadership principles. Then I want you to do is go read the job description yourself and make sure the ones that the AI model has given you are the most relevant ones. And if they are most relevant ones, then these are your leadership principles that you can expect to be asked in the interview, because the job description is written in a way where it reflects those leadership principles. So you can make use of an AI model to spit out for you what would be the leadership principles most relevant for the job. So now we have 8 major highlights. We have the leadership principles that you are expecting to be asked questions around in the interview, because the interviewer will be asking you questions related to the leadership principle. Let's say the leadership principle is ownership. Then the question that they might craft is, tell me about a time when you went above and beyond your current role, which is all about ownership. So they will be crafting questions around those leadership principles which are most relevant for your job. So you list them down, and then what I want you to do is do a matching and mapping. See which of the leadership principles you can easily tackle through the 8 key highlights that you have. So once there was a time that, let's say you have a highlight where you did go above and beyond a particular task or your day job. That is the example that you can use in order to answer any question that you might get asked on ownership. And this way, what you're trying to ensure is that you have an example, you have a story or highlight from your past, which can address the leadership principles which are most pertinent and relevant for this particular job. And the way you do it is you go through your best and top highlights. Now here, there are individuals who will say you should have like 25 highlights because you will have 5 interviews, and for each interview you will be asked 5 questions and you should have 5 different answers for each of the interviews. Don't do this. Just go with your 8 top highlights. They won't be cross-checking whether you gave a different answer or not. Rather, it is better you always talk the same example, your best example, with the interviewer, because you want to put your best foot forward. What you don't want to do is you use your best example with the first interviewer, and the second interview when you go, you are restricted because you don't want to use your first 5 examples, and now you use the second best 5 examples and third best, and by the time you reach the last interviewer, the examples that you are sharing with them are the least good examples or are really bad. So what you want to do is you want to go with 8 or max 10 examples, 10 stories, and make sure that you deliver those 8 to 10 examples in each or all of those interviews, because you want to put your best foot forward. You want to repeat your best example in each of those interviews. Now, while in this interview, my focus is all on behavioral interview questions, there are other smart questions that you might get asked in the Amazon interview as well, such as introduce yourself, which is very important. It's one of the first interview question asked. Or in the end, do you have any questions for me? Or they may ask, why do you want to join Amazon? Why do you want to leave your current company or your current role? Like, these are very standard normal curiosity questions. Now, I've made separate videos on all of these questions. I highly recommend you check them out. I won't cover in this video. However, I have covered them in separate videos. I will leave the link in the description of this video and somewhere here as well. So I highly recommend you check out those videos as well, because they will be part of your interview preparation package. Now let's talk about how do you go about delivering the stories or the examples that you have. So whenever they ask you a question, a behavioral interview question, which goes like, tell me about a time when this and this happened, you want to use the STAR format. STAR format stands for S for situation, T for task, A for action, R for result. Situation is where you lay down what was the background, what was the context of what was going on of the particular project that you will be telling them about. Task is what was your task. So whatever the situation was, the background was, which was a problem, which was an issue, what was your task in solving that particular issue? And then the actions. So what actions you took in order to solve that particular issue. And last would be results, which is what did you achieve in the end? Now here I will take you step by step as I promised. For the situation, what is important is that you should put your situation down as part of your preparation in one line. If you can explain yourself or put in one line the situation, the context, what were you trying to solve, what was the issue, in one line, it means you are clear. And if you are clear, you will be very clear in explaining it to them. Because remember, it is important that you are able to get your point across the interviewer as well. The interviewer might not be familiar with your example, with your situation, with your industry. So whatever you're telling them may be just French to them. So you need to make sure that you communicate in a very simple, easy way that they can understand what you're saying. So let's say you're coming from a banking background and they are trying to hire you for Amazon. Now you might have gone through examples which are very relevant to the banking industry and they may not be able to relate to it. However, if you speak in a very simple, concise way, which I refer as grandma rule, like you can go to your grandma and you can explain it to her. If you can do that, that is success, because the idea is the interviewer is able to retain and understand what you told them. So it is very important that you say in a clear way, and the best way to say it in a clear way is for you to understand yourself, and the best way for you to understand yourself is to put it in one line, in summary, what was it that you were trying to solve. And I would also recommend when you give them the entire situation, in the end, do summarize it. Essentially, I was trying to fix the share loss. Essentially, I was trying to fix the profitability loss, or something on those lines. So summarize whatever you've said in the situation. Now let's talk about the actions. What mistake that people do is they will just quickly rush over the actions. Oh, there was a problem and I solved it. Well, I know you solved it. I know whatever example you'll give me is the best example, is the success example that you want to talk about. But what I'm interested in, not knowing whether you solved it or not, what I'm interested is in knowing how did you go about solving it, because the issue or the concern or the problem that you faced in your past won't be repeated again in Amazon. Not the exact problem. However, it will be a different problem, but I want to know whether you know the process of solving problems, because each time the problem will be different. So I'm more interested in knowing the process. And hence for the process, what you want to talk about is you want to talk about action. So what action you took. So you want to talk about the what. So what you did, number one, why you did it, and how you did it. So how is the process? So the first thing I did was I analyzed the data, which is what. Why? I analyzed the data in order to figure out why we were losing share. How? I've collected the data on share loss, historical share loss, and then plotted it against pricing. This is the how. So what, why, how? What, why, how? You should have at least 3 to 4 actions, and for each of the actions, you should have a what, why, and how. And how should be elaborate, like you should go in details in talking about the how. And the last piece here is the results. And here what people do is they quickly talk about the results, that it was a success. Well, you have to talk about what kind of success in terms of number. So be more specific, be more concrete with regards to what results did you achieve. But one thing that people miss is to also talk about what did you learn. So essentially in the results here, I can talk, we were able to recover the share loss and we were able to grow share by 2 percentage points. And the key learning here was that instead of waiting for share loss to happen and for us to run that analysis, I recommended that we run that analysis on regular basis. So whether we are growing share or losing share, we still have eye on the ball and make sure that we know where the share loss or where the share gain is coming from. Something on those lines. So you talk about what did you learn. That part is very important as well. Now, lastly, the bonus hacks as I promised. Number one is make sure that all that you have to talk in the interview is written down in bullet format on a piece of paper and is in front of you while you're delivering the interview. So all your 8 examples, for each of the examples, you should write one line situation and then the actions you took, the what's, only the what's, 1, 2, 3, 4 actions you took. Because how is the story? Why you did it, you would know why you did it by remembering the what. Because the idea is that you make use of your brain capacity in the interview to process information, not to memorize. So this should be already written in front of you, either on a piece of paper or maybe in form of digital notes in front of you when you are delivering the interview. Obviously, you don't inform the interviewer that you have notes in front of you, but you have for each of your examples a line for situation and the actions you took. So the what, and you do it for 8 examples that you have. You have it written down in front of you. Now, the second bonus hack is that whenever the interviewer is asking you a question, pretend as if you're taking notes. So you have your examples written down in bullet format in front of you on a piece of paper. Pretend that you're taking notes on that piece of paper. Once the interviewer is done asking you the question, you can start delivering your answer. But each time you forget or you want to jog your memory, you can look down on the piece of paper and find your answer and deliver. Because now you have permission to look down on the piece of paper, because for the interviewer, he saw you or she saw you writing down notes, which means that you have something written down and you have permission to refer to whatever you wrote down while the interviewer was asking you questions. And even if you wrote down nothing, you already have a piece of paper where you have the answer written down. So if you forget a bullet, if you forget what happened there or some example, or you're not sure which example to use, you can always look down and say, okay, I will use this example, or these are the things that are missing from my answer and I will use them. So this is kind of a $1 million hack which you can make use of, which is pretend as if you're writing and then read through the answers that you've written down. Because the job of your brain in the interview is not to memorize, it is to process information. So you need to leave your brain capacity to process information as against to memorize things. Everything that you need to memorize should already be written in front of you. And the way to refer to those notes is to pretend as if you're scribbling or taking notes, and then you can easily take notes. Hopefully guys, this was helpful, and after watching this video, you will have a complete grasp and understanding of how to go about acing Amazon interview. I have not done this video ever before. Rather, I was thinking of making a course out of this video, but then I thought it would be much beneficial if I just put it out there for everyone to make use of versus a course which is behind a paywall. Thank you for watching. Best of luck.